Please welcome to the show, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin.
They said she wasn't ready. They said the Olympic roster proved it. They said the hype had gone too far, too fast, too loud. And when Caitlin Clark was left off Team USA in 2024, a whole lot of people treated that like the final word. Not a debate, not a mistake, a verdict. The message was simple. Wait your turn, rookie. Learn the league, earn the right to belong. And what made it hit even harder was who was saying it. Because when a legend of the game looks into a camera and questions whether you're ready for this level, that doesn't just sound like an opinion. It sounds like permission. Permission for the doubters. Permission for the gatekeepers. Permission for the old guard to close ranks and remind everybody that this league had a pecking order long before Caitlin Clark walked in with record crowds, logo range, and enough pressure to break most players in half. But pressure didn't break her. It built the moment they were all about to regret. Because the snub wasn't just about one roster spot. That's the part people try to flatten. They wanted to make it sound procedural. They wanted to make it sound reasonable. They wanted to say, hey, this is how it works. Veterans first. Respect the hierarchy. The future can wait. But that's exactly why it got so big. Caitlin Clark wasn't just another rookie trying to find her footing. She had already dragged unprecedented attention into the league. She had already put up record-breaking rookie production. She had already turned every fever game into an event. And still, the loudest response from some corners was, not yet. That's what made the snub feel bigger than basketball. It felt like the system looking straight at a generational shift and trying to delay it by force. And then came the first game back after the Olympic break. And suddenly, all that talk had somewhere to go. You could feel it before the tip. Sold-out building. Cameras everywhere. Every pre-game desk circling the same story. The snub. The criticism. The legend who had doubled down before. The old era versus the new one. It didn't even feel like a regular season game anymore. It felt like a referendum. You had one side clinging to status, legacy, and all the unwritten rules about how fast a star is allowed to rise. And on the other side, you had a player who had already heard every version of the same insult. Too young, too slight, too early, too much hype, not ready for the physicality, not ready for the speed, not ready for the grown women. And all that sounds powerful before the ball goes up. That's the thing about criticism. It sounds unbeatable right up until reality starts moving faster than the script they wrote for you. Then the whistle blew, and the conversation changed instantly. Caitlin Clark didn't come out trying to survive the moment. She came out looking like she owned it. First, it was a range. Not deep threes. Not normal deep threes. The kind of shots that bend a defense before possession even starts. One dribble over half court. Defender still trying to decide whether to pick her up. And boom, logo three. Next trip down, same panic, same hesitation, same punishment. And just like that, all those talking points about whether she was ready for this level started sounding old. Then came the pass that really broke the frame. Push in transition. Defense collapsing to stop her, eyes up for half a second. And she fires a laser to the weak side for a layup before the help defender even knows the ball has left her hands. That's not somebody getting overwhelmed by speed. That's somebody controlling speed. A few possessions later, she gets bumped, bodies her defender off balance, keeps the dribble alive, snakes into space, and drops another impossible assist through traffic. So now the physicality argument is wobbling too. Because if she were too small for this league, too slow for this game, too fragile for this pressure, then none of this should be happening. Not against this kind of competition. Not under this kind of spotlight. Not with half the basketball world waiting for one bad quarter. So they could say, see, we told you, but that bad quarter never came. What came instead was domination. Real domination. The kind that silences a building one section at a time because everybody realizes they are watching the exact thing they were told wasn't possible yet. Clark wasn't just scoring, she was dictating. She was pulling defenders 10 feet farther out than they wanted to go, opening driving lanes, bending coverages, dragging the entire geometry of the floor into her orbit. That's the part the critics never seem to understand. Her value is not just in the shots she makes. It's in what breaks the second she crosses half court. Defensive schemes stop looking like defensive schemes. Rotations turn into panic. Help defenders become late. teammates start cutting harder because they know the ball can find them from anywhere. The Fever didn't just look better. They looked bigger, faster, more dangerous, more alive. By halftime, they weren't hanging around. They were in control. And the people who had spent months telling everybody to calm down were suddenly the ones running out of words. That's when the moment everybody had been waiting for finally arrived. Mid-game, camera turns, mic goes up, and the same legend who had been framed as one of the loudest voices of caution is now forced to react to what everyone just saw with their own eyes. No more hypotheticals. No more let's give it time. No more talking in theory about what the pro game might do to her. This is live now. This is happening now. And you could feel the backpedal before the sentence even finished. The tone changed first, then the language, then came the admission that told the whole story. This was different. Maybe the exact phrasing shift depending on who tells it back, but the meaning was obvious. I haven't seen anything like this. And that right, there was the mic drop moment. Not because one analyst changed their mind, because the wall changed. Because when one of the biggest symbols of the old guard has to publicly concede that the kid they told to wait is already bending the sport in real time, the argument doesn't just weaken, it collapses. And the beautiful part was that Clark didn't play like someone feeding off the validation. She played like someone who never needed it. That's what separates real stars from internet narratives. Once the second half started, she didn't hunt a quote. She hunted the win. She kept the pace high, kept making the right read, kept punishing every late rotation and every soft switch. When the defense pressed up, she slipped by it. When they crowded her at the logo, she hit the roll. When they sagged, she fired. And when the opponent made one last push, she answered the way superstars answer. Not with panic, not with hero ball chaos, but with control. Bucket, stop, assist, free throws, another dagger three. By the end of the night, the stat line said double-double. The scoreboard said statement win. And the only thing louder than the crowd was the silence around all those preseason predictions that suddenly looked ridiculous. Because numbers don't care about narratives. They don't care who said what on television in May. They don't care who thought a rookie should wait in line. They don't care about legacy politics or gatekeeping or the comfort of old hierarchies. The numbers just sit there and tell the truth. And the truth after that game was brutal for every critic who had built their entire case around the idea that Caitlin Clark needed to be humbled before she could belong. She didn't just belong. She tilted the floor. She didn't just survive the spotlight. She became the only thing anyone could talk about. She didn't just answer the criticism. She made the criticism look like a snapshot from a league that already felt outdated. And then came the image that really sealed it. Post-game, the embraces, the respect, the veterans who know exactly what greatness looks like because they've lived inside it. That matters. It always matters more when it comes from people who understand what this level actually demands. You can fake narratives for a week. You can fake TV segments for a month. You can't fake that kind of acknowledgement from people who know the cost of excellence. And when the same ecosystem that spent all summer questioning whether she was ready now is to stand there and watch her lead a statement win with poise, vision, shot making, and total command, that's more than one good game. That's a transfer of power. Because this was never only about the Olympics. It was never only about one snub, one quote, one halftime segment, one viral moment. This was about whether the league was ready to admit what was already happening in plain sight. Caitlin Clark is not some future possibility waiting to bloom if the veterans allow it. She is already forcing the sport to reorganize around her presence. She changes how teams defend. She changes how fans show up. She changes what gets covered, what gets debated, what gets valued, what gets watched. And that's why this moment hit so hard. The legend eating their words wasn't just a personal reversal. It was symbolic. It was the last layer of resistance cracking in public. That's the new reality of the WNBA, not whether Caitlin Clark belongs. That question is dead now. The real question is how far this goes, how high the ceiling is, how much of the league gets reshaped because one player can combine superstar pressure, historic attention, and actual on-court control at this stage of her career. Because once the doubt is gone, once the exclusion is exposed, Once the domination happens in front of everybody, validation turns into something even bigger, destiny. And destiny is where the story is headed now. For the Fever, for Team USA, for the future face of the league, for a sport that keeps getting dragged into a bigger spotlight every time she steps on the floor and turns skepticism into receipts. They said she wasn't ready. Then she walked back into the spotlight and made every critic sound like they were talking about a different player, a different era, maybe even a different sport. And when the people who once questioned her are now the ones forced to acknowledge what she is, you're not watching hype anymore. You're watching inevitability. So now let's ask the real question. Is Caitlin Clark already the face of the league? Or are people still underestimating how fast this takeover is happening? Let me know in the comments. And if you're watching The Rise in real time, subscribe, because this story is only getting bigger.